Well, I think that's fine.
No, that's great. That's great, actually.
I think that's fine.
No, that's great, actually. That let us get into the swing of things.
Though, I mean, all of the footage is on the Twitch, and I think I could take it off of the Twitch website, but only for 7 days.
Oh.
And it all gets deleted after 7 days because I'm not a real Twitch streamer who's a partner or an affiliate, because people don't want to have 5 people in my stream talking at the same time or something. I don't know.
So here's this crazy thing. If you want your girl Peril to be an affiliate, you need to hop into the stream. And if you hop into the stream, then you also get to look at her being boobylicious. And that's a win-win situation. That's 2 broads, 1 stone.
That's like 3 broads, really.
Oh, you're right.
Look at all 3 of us.
And then I'm like kind of a broad over here. I'm like a girl, boy, boy wife.
You gotta for those listeners at home, you can't see, but Possum today is wearing a big shirt that just says "cum" on it.
It technically says "cum dumpster."
It says "cum dumpster." There's a little froggy on it. It's actually really adorable.
Thank you. I cut off the shoulders so you can see a little bit of bra. Like
I'm supporting the girls today, and you can see my bra through my see-through shirt, which is covered in flowers, in celebration of Poison Ivy 10th issue, which I read about and we'll talk about today.
Also International Women's Day, which was yesterday. So if you want to support women like this bra, then you need to come in and support Peril's tits and also stream.
We're titty streamers.
We are
officially titty streamers.
You're the titty streamer, and I'm like the small-chested sidekick. You breast boobily down the stairs, and I chest.
You're like the avatar for the viewer at home. You're like who they want to be.
I'm the self-insert character.
Yeah, you're the self-insert character.
Peril.
You're the NPC.
Peril. Oh. You've called me a lot of slurs in our day, but that is maybe like the 4th worst slur. It's not as bad as tenderqueer. I don't think anything's ever been as bad as tenderqueer.
That was a fun one.
Yeah,
I'll probably call you that again someday.
Ooh. Has a bit of a different tenor now.
So we are back. It is episode 6. We have a lot of things to talk about today. The comic book store is still running, which is really, really nice. We both have jobs still.
I like
you can believe it.
I like having a job.
And did anything happen in the store this week we want to gossip about?
Honestly, it's been a pretty quiet week, I think, other than like the manga madness from yesterday when we had like a million.
You were going so hard on the manga section.
We gotta find goddamn spaces to store that. And if I have to redo the manga section every fucking time we get a manga shipment, I will do it, because there is just nowhere else to put it until we dig a hole in the backyard, which I have been saying we should do for like months now.
To throw all the manga into?
To throw books that aren't good into. Which is
you in there.
I mean, please, like, look, I love being degraded, but that's another story. I think if we just throw all of the Attack on Titan and all that really weird, like, child sexualization, like, Neon Genesis Evangelion
Little
manga.
Nemo? We got a little Nemo.
Oh, the little Nemo with the black face? Yeah, we could definitely throw the
hole.
black face in there, yeah.
There's a lot of things that don't need to be in the store.
Yeah, also a lot of weird novelizations of things that no one will ever fucking buy.
Right. There's like a weird Alice in Wonderland that I think it was made by Ralph Steadman, and it's horrific.
Oh, it's a Steadman.
Yeah, why?
I do kind of want it.
I've opened it a few times, and it scares me.
I do want the Steadman.
Okay.
Knowing we have a Ralph Steadman Alice in Wonderland is deranged.
It's so deranged. Okay, she can stay, I guess.
It's not
fear and loathing in Wonderland. It's so scary.
Ooh, I like that.
That kind of is your shit.
I do like hideous shit, which, speaking of hideous shit, one of the things that we will be talking about today is Spa by Eric Svetoft, and ooh, it's a banger. It's a banger. You know, no spoilers, but it's a banger.
You know what did happen this week is we got retweeted.
We did. We got retweeted by Pornside Pishet Show. Pishet Show. He, I guess, listened to our stream. He at least listened to the part about Dead Boy Detectives, which he's the writer of that, in case you don't remember.
Possum tagged him and put up the timestamp for when we talked about Dead Boy Detective, and he definitely went and listened to it, and then he quote retweeted us.
He quote retweeted us.
It was
which
like,
is,
this is great. This is why I make comics. Because
like for these
this.
in-depth discussions like this. It was so fucking sweet.
It was like, it was a milestone of our podcast, I feel like, and of our stream and our discussions here. It made me really happy.
Me too. It was a really crowning moment. And made me really proud.
A lot of these creators and people who we are like reading are a lot more accessible than I think I realize.
Yeah, no, a lot of people are on Twitter. Jeff Stokely wasn't. Like, I was gonna tag him, but I guess
yeah, I saw he wasn't tagged. It's like, oh, he must not have a Twitter. Which is, it's so. If you're not gonna have a Twitter, I do support you.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Not having a Twitter is great. I say as somebody who is like a niche internet micro celebrity at this point.
Yeah, get a Twitch.
Yeah,
and then follow me.
Yeah, follow Peril on Twitch. That's a way better use of your time than Twitter. Way better use of your time. I will still be tweeting like a goddamn mad woman, but like
I do enjoy your tweets. If you aren't following Possum's Twitter, get on it.
Aw, thank you.
It's a wild ride.
The method to my madness is just to be deranged and to have no specific type of like, I don't have a Twitter for specific things. This was like a thing with Tumblr, right? Where they'd be like, people would have blogs for different topics. I don't fucking do that. I ain't playing that game. You're going to see pictures of Hog next to me talking about like David Lynch films, right next to like me tweeting about like genocide and different like historical things, right next to like weird trans art, right next to like furry porn, right next to like I'm just going to like tweet whatever I want, and that's helped me like stay at a low cap because people will follow me after like a stray discourse or shit post goes off, and a bunch of people will follow me, but then they'll see me tweeting derangedly about like any number of things, and they're like, this bitch cannot, like, I cannot have this bitch in my psychic space, and they just unfollow me, and it's beautiful. I love to see it.
Who is the singer lady who recently liked one of your tweets?
Oh God, fucking Phoebe Bridgers liked my tweet.
She didn't follow you?
No, she didn't. Phoebe Bridgers, if you're listening to the stream,
she's probably listening. It says
follow
there's one
me.
viewer. It's probably her.
Follow me, Phoebe Bridgers, please. I love your music. Many transsexuals have cried about breakups to your albums.
Yeah, I personally have watched it happen. So
a lot of who among us, really?
Not me, but I have watched it happen.
Then that's good enough.
I'm not like other girls, okay?
That picture of the kangaroo standing in the surf with the Comic Sans font that says "I'm not like the other girls."
Okay.
There's a whole subgenre of meme of animal that should not be on the beach standing in the surf, and it says "I am not like the other girls." It's a whole subgenre.
The frog on your shirt, I feel like, could be one of them.
Oh yeah.
There's like a frog with a big strawberry on her head, and it just says "cum dumpster," but it could also just say "I'm not like other girls."
I think, well, okay, so here's the thing about my cum dumpster shirt. Whenever I wear this cum dumpster shirt out in public and people can see it, I get a lot of weird looks, and I get a lot of like questioning looks that I think my shirt is answering pretty definitively. Like, what is this girl doing? She's being a cum dumpster. It says right here.
Yeah.
It's not complicated.
It's descriptive.
But also, as we have learned from working in a comic book store, people cannot read.
So you can wear whatever you want.
Exactly. I'm gonna get misread anyway, so I might as well serve cunt however I want to.
We left a sign up at the store that says we use she her pronouns, and if you misgender us, we add 25% to your overall order.
We haven't actually done that yet, but I cannot wait.
It's a threat.
It's a threat, and it will be a promise.
We haven't pressed that knife to anyone's neck yet, but it's it's glistening in the sunlight, waiting to be brandished.
Quick question. Knife on neck.
Knife on neck. Go on. What's your question? What do you have to say about that?
I don't think it's so much of a question as an experience I'm having.
Oh. Okay. Do you want to share with the class? Tell us how you feel.
God damn it, bitch.
Wow, called your bluff. That was easy.
Well, okay, no. Fuck you. All right. Press. I think about women pressing the knife against my neck and telling me what a stupid little slut I am. And are we gonna have to cut this? Or we could just leave.
Go
this
on.
In. Pressing
Sorry, we're like flirting too much.
Yeah, we'll cut this part probably.
Yeah, we'll definitely cut this part. in post-op.
In post-op. Okay, yeah. Actually, let's before I get too horny thinking about knives on my neck and flirting with my girlfriend co-host
And cum dumpsters.
We should talk about books, which is ostensibly why we're here.
Okay, what do we want to talk about today?
I want to talk about Clear #1 and by Scott Snyder and Francis Manipool, as well as I'm forgetting who the fucking colorist is off the top of my head. And then
Clear looks really cool. I'm excited to talk about that.
It's an interesting one. Francis Manipool did the colors as well. Good color work.
Yeah, kind of an unexpected one this week that I want to get into.
Yeah, so we got that. We got the graphic novel Spa by Eric Svetoft. Really, yeah. Well, I won't say anything more about that till we get there. And maybe Doom Patrol Volume 2 Nada. We'll see what our timing is like, but I would like to get into it either this stream or next. And then what about you, Peril?
Well, as usual, I'm reading way too much X-Men. That is my blessing and my curse. Today, I have X-Men 20, which, yeah, we'll talk about that. I also have... Okay, so they came out with a book all about X-23. It's called X-23 Regenesis. I picked it up. It was also released alongside a facsimile edition of X-23 #1 from back in the day, which goes into Laura Kinney's origin. So I got both of those. I read both of those. We can talk about it. And then what else? New Mutants Lethal Legion #1.
Hell yeah.
A New Mutants #1. Written by Charlie Jane Anders, right?
Yeah, Charlie Jane Anders, yeah. Who is a cool trans woman sci-fi fantasy author. So we love the girls.
We do love the girls. I saw a picture of her online. She had like hot pink hair.
Ooh.
Just so unapologetically gay. I was very happy to see it. And then Nightcrawlers #2, which is the 100-year skip that I've been talking about for a bit. Written by C. Spurrier.
Woo! My boy C. Spurrier.
Or Cy Spurrier? Like Simon, right?
Yeah, like Simon. So I think it is Cy Spurrier. I'd say it both ways.
And
I swing both ways.
Then I've read Poison Ivy, books 1 through 10. Number 10 came out this week, so I kind of want to talk about my favorite parts of everything that's been coming out with that. With the Poison Ivy series. And then I guess after that it's All-Star Superman.
Woo!
Right?
I think I'm excited to hear your thoughts on All-Star Superman. You're 5 issues in, right?
I am about 5 issues in. I literally just read it this morning. I didn't take any notes or anything, so yeah, we'll see.
Just pure vibes.
I just absorbed it. I've never read a Superman before, other than his like gay son book that came out last year.
You've never read it? Oh, this is your first Superman.
It's definitely my first Superman, yeah. So
this is a banger choice for first Superman. This might have actually been
your
first
idea.
Oh
so.
Yeah, because I'm a big brain genius, and Grant Morrison is phenomenal, and All-Star Superman is one of their bangers.
Where should we begin, comrade?
We should begin real quick with actually a correction. In a couple episodes, I have referred to comic book critic, right? Oh my God, Rithaish. Rithaish. There we go. I stumbling in my mouth. I had been referring to them as Ritesh, which is how their name is spelled Ritesh, and I've been referring to them as Ritesh. However, Rithaish recently posted on Twitter that their name is actually pronounced Rithaish. And so I wanted to correct the record on that.
Rithaish. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Good. I'm glad we made that correction.
Absolutely.
It's important.
It's important. Yeah, it's important to get people's names correct. And like, they're also phenomenal critic. Go check out their work. As I have said on like every episode of the podcast, I enjoy reading their work tremendously.
Yeah, I feel like I've messed up several names on here so far. So
same.
We're gonna be paying attention to that much better. It's important for me to get people's names right.
Absolutely.
All right. And so, anything else?
I think that covers our opening.
Okay.
All right. So where do we want to start? Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
I can start.
Perfect. Yeah. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's talk about yeah, let's talk about New Mutants.
Cool.
Where are my notes on that? So the cool thing about New Mutants, it's a New Mutants #1, Lethal Legion. The team is really fun. Let me look at the team. So there's some interesting characters happening here. There's this new girl. Her name is Sheila Sexton. She's a trans woman that I believe Charlie Jane Anders created back in Pride 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, Pride 2022. She had her own sort of like story where we like got introduced to her. She has this best friend who's a trans guy named Morgan Red.
Mm-hmm.
They're both mutants, and the cool thing that I think is pretty cool about them is like, you know, she's trying to be on Krakoa. She's trying to like join the New Mutants. She's trying to like do the thing, be a mutant or whatever. And her best friend Morgan, who's also a mutant, just isn't really about Krakoa and like has a very dissenting voice for like the Krakoan project, which kind of fascinates me.
What's his critique of the Krakoan project? I'm curious what angle he's coming from with this. There's a lot.
In Lethal Legion #1, he has a side story where he hangs out with Rain, who's like the werewolf girl in New Mutants.
Ooh.
And he actually has an interesting discussion with her. See if I can find it. About what he thinks about the Krakoan project. And I don't know, it's just not an angle that I feel like any of the comic books have really like talked about much. It says, so he's speaking with Rain. They're like going on a little mission. Rain says, "Listen, I wanted to ask, why do you have such a problem with Krakoa?" Nationalism, and he says, "Nationalism is a disease, and the first thing you all did was create a new language that nobody else could speak, and you wonder why people don't trust you. But also, Krakoa will always be at war. You have no conventional weapons, right? All you have is people with powers. You'll have to keep turning your people into weapons. I can see why it looks that way to you, but we also can't die, remember," says Rain. Rain's like, "We can't die," so like, there's that. And Morgan says, "That's what makes it so much worse. You'll keep fighting and dying forever. You can restore your bodies, but what about your minds? It's like being trapped in hell." Which is like, that's so real. Like,
yeah.
the Krakoan project is like, yeah, they literally like ripped themselves away from everything, went and started an island that is a mutant. And, you know, they're really just like protecting themselves and trying to do their own thing after like years of genocide and like fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting to me that there's this like queer descending voice that like doesn't want to join the Krakoan project in a way that isn't like really anti-mutant.
I'd be curious to see if the books will ever get into this, but I think there's something very interesting. Like, you see that meme a lot where it's like the X-Men who are more quote unquote normal, they're more passing within society, and like the mutants that aren't. But then I also wonder if there's like another split here between like mutants who have experienced like this. This is a really complicated thought to kind of like, yeah, okay, sorry, scratch that. I guess what I'm trying to say is I find it very interesting, this tension between like, we've created this nation because we need to protect ourselves and because of these years of genocide, but then also like has gone on to do a lot of genocidal shit, i.e. Beast doing
all kinds of things in Central America.
All kinds of things in Central America.
Terra Verde.
And I don't know if this comparison is going to get made, and I'm sure if we had more listeners, I'd get yelled at to fucking back about this, but Krakoa is serving Israel a little bit.
Okay, this comparison has been made, okay?
Oh, has it been made?
Oh, yeah, everybody's talking about how Krakoa is, like, a metaphor for, like, Israel.
Shit.
Like, that's a big discussion amongst X-readers. It's like, is this Krakoan project? Is this what we're talking about? Is this the mutant metaphor now?
Which is, yeah, that's a really fascinating angle, and an important one to take, I think, if you want to get into it. Which, like, if it's not trying to get into it, you know, fair enough. But like, if it is trying to get into it, yeah, the tension between like, yeah, like like understanding the necessity of like wanting like Jewish spaces post like years and years of, I mean, the Holocaust and then all the pogroms that preceded it, but then also like you can't just being fucking capos and like doing genocide on the Palestinian people to set up your little ethno state, and fuck that noise.
Yeah, everything that's happening in Wolverine and X-Force is like so gross and like so disgusting, and they're like this like weird underbelly of the Krakoan project where they are, they're committing. I mean, they did commit a genocide in Terra Verde. They killed off all these sort of like people who were also part plant, and it was like threatening the technological state of Krakoa, which exists on this whole flower production that they use to like help people live better lives throughout the world. And they were getting a competitor, and it literally turned into Beast committing like a mass genocide, like unapologetically, like would do it again. Like it's not good. Like the comparisons are ripe here, and a lot of people have definitely had a lot of things to say about that. In this new Mutants book, I'm really interested. It's very queer. Like New Mutants has been like where the gay people are for a long time, and so I'm like, that's a really interesting intersection for me in, you know, the X books is like, where are the gay people? Yeah. You know, like for so long the mutant metaphor was that they were like the metaphor of like the gay experience, but I don't know, now there's like gay people within, and then, you know, what are they actually doing? And that's always what I'm looking for. And then there's all these gay writers that come to X-Men, and I'm like, what are the gay writers doing? And this is what they're doing. They're making this trans girl. She seems to be the main character of this, at least of this first issue. I like her a lot. She's just like me for real. She is. She's like this like curly-haired redhead girl who, you know, her superpower is that she basically does what Sync does, but in a different way. Sync, who is one of the X-Men proper, can basically take someone's power who is in proximity to him and duplicate it in this way. So if like there's two X-Men in front of him, he can take both of their powers and have this like chimera power.
Okay, so he's kind of like Rogue, but like he doesn't have to touch anybody, and he can.
It's a proximity. Yeah,
it's a proximity versus like a touch.
She's the same way. If you're within like, I guess like 8 feet of her, she can swap items between your bodies. She can like swap your clothes. Like she can sort of teleport the things that are on you between each other. And she can also like switch your bodies. She does a lot of body swapping, like as this like trans woman. She's really interesting, and it's looking like she's a dyke.
Ooh.
Yeah. So do you remember in Grant Morrison's X-Men, No Girl, who was kind of like the floating brain?
Oh, yeah, floating brain girl, yeah.
So throughout New Mutants, she's spoken up a lot about like hating being called No Girl. She doesn't like that name. She's never liked that name. She's always felt very teased by it, and she doesn't understand why they won't make her a body in this Krakoan era. Yeah. Like she's done being this like floating brain that was kidnapped by the U-Men and like manipulated. She wants to have a body, and so it's been like a long process, but they finally got her a body. In this book, she's it's very much a trans metaphor. She's like experiencing a body again for the first time. It's like she's going through puberty, kind of.
Yeah, she's going through a second puberty, which is not familiar to either of us.
She's very much doing a second puberty thing. And what's her name? Sheila Saxton, who's the trans girl, is helping her like figure out herself emotionally, and they're doing a lot of processing, a lot of dyke processing. And eventually No Girl, who is not No Girl anymore, she goes by Cerebella.
Oh, like Cerebro kind of, but Cerebella.
Like Cerebellum. Ooh. But Cerebella, I don't know. And anyways, they start planning a date, and they start planning crimes together, and it's really, really cute.
Oh, girls planning dates and crimes together, dates to go do crimes?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cute.
Nice. It's really, really nice. It's what I support. Anyways, I am definitely going to be reading this series, New Mutants Lethal Legion. I'm not sure how many there are going to be. It might just be kind of like a quick 5-issue miniseries. I'm really liking it. I really like the different voices that they're bringing in to the Krakoan project. I think this book is going to be analyzing a lot of it from like queer angles. And there's a lot of fun new characters, and the art's really good, and it's lesbian. I think they're fighting vampires. And Morgan, remember Morgan Red, the trans guy? His power is that he can turn anything into chocolate.
Wait, that's his canonical power?
That's his canonical power.
You know what? Kind of based.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that meme. It's like, you know what? Fuck you. Turns your ex into chocolate.
Anything can be chocolate. That's his power.
So you're telling me this is trans boy Willy Wonka?
It's yeah.
This is tranny Willy Wonka. I don't know if I'm allowed to say
Tranny
that.
Wonka.
Tranny Wonka.
If you will.
We get to say that word just in case anybody are like just in case anyone in our 6 listeners is.
Are you
upset.
outing me as a trans woman right now?
I'm outing you as a fag.
Oh. A fat goat. Okay, fat goat.
Oh, you're right. A bundle of sticks.
A bundle. We can't say the F slur.
We just said the T slur.
They don't care about the T slur.
Do they not care about the T slur?
I don't know. I feel like I've said everything, and nothing. I've had no repercussions yet. We also have no viewers, so like whatever.
I guess that's true.
Just say faggot and tranny all day, I guess.
Fagot and Trene.
Trene. Ooh, Trene. Slay. Okay, so that was New Mutants. I can talk about X-Men a little bit. X-Men, I'm not really sure what's going on. They're fighting the Brood. Nightmare came back and is controlling Brew? Who controls the Brood and is giving him nightmares.
Wait, is Brew the little like Brood kid? He's
the little Brood kid. Yeah.
Oh, he's so cute.
He's usually got glasses on.
You ever read Wolverine and the X-Men? Jason Aaron's Wolverine and the X-Men?
I don't think so. No.
It's really good, and I think Brew either Brew came from that run, or that little guy. Either Brew came from that run, or he came from Matt Fraction's Fantastic Four, and I can't remember which of the two things it was.
I'm not sure who invented the Brood, but I feel like they've been happening for.
Like no. The Brood,
decade or two.
The Brood have been happening for a while, but Brew specifically.
Oh.
The little kid. Well,
Yeah.
he's not even a little kid, but he's just small. He's a small guy.
The best part of this book is when Brew is demonstrating how he controls the hive mind by making them all do the Thriller dance.
Oh my god, he's making them do.
He makes them all. He's like, "Watch, I control them," and then he makes them all do the Thriller dance. Magic is so delighted by this that she joins in.
Everyone's so gay in this book.
X-Men is just so delightful. I don't even know who is writing X-Men half the time. I'm just like, I want to know what happens next.
I think it's Gary Duggan right now.
Is it Duggan right now? Let me
I'm pretty sure it's Duggan.
We got Duggan on X-Men proper.
Who you'll remember writing some other X-Men books and co-writing Deadpool at one point, and I think the Weed book.
So my notes on X-Men 20 just say, okay, so what I liked is that there's a quote from Cyclops in the beginning of the book where it says, "The X-Men aren't the Avengers. We don't wait for bodies to drop to suit up." And I thought that was kind of cool.
That's pretty based.
I feel like we're calling the Avengers the cops, and yeah, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you have Tony Stark on your team, you're automatically a cop, but like, and also Captain America.
The only other thing that's happening in the X-Men that is worth noting is that Laura Kinney, X-23, the original Laura Kinney, is back. We thought she died for a long time because she was stuck in a time vault where she aged 500 years in a place where you can't age. So she's still pretty much in the same body. They cloned her through the Krakoan process, and now there's 2 Laura Kenneys.
So they number 5 to bitch.
They number
also
5 to bitch? Yeah,
oh,
okay.
that Umbrella Academy reference. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
And then also cloned her.
So she's dating Sync now. She changed her name to Talon instead of Wolverine, and then there's a different Wolverine. So there's a lot of Laura Kenneys happening right now. Not to mention Gabby, who is Honey Badger.
Wait, so how many fucking wait. So there's Gabby, and is Gabby Kinney, or is that?
I guess so. She's a clone of Laura Kinney,
who's
a
also
clone
a
of
clone.
Wolverine.
How many clones are there?
There's a lot of clones. Clones are just a thing. Madeline Pryor's a clone.
What is this, Star
Ben
Wars?
Riley's a clone.
Is this Star Wars Episode 2? Get these fucking Attack of the goddamn clones.
It's
out
a
of here.
lot. I mean, really, They're all clones except for like Storm, who's never died.
Oh, I guess you're right. Everyone is kind of a clone now.
They don't call them clones. They call them like reborn, but they're all clones. Yeah. That's all. I don't know. Something happened with the Krakoan gates, and now Wilson Fisk is on the island. So
Wilson, wait,
that was the cliffhanger.
Kingpin's just on the island.
Kingpin's on the island. Yeah.
Why is Kingpin here?
Because the Brood fucked with the Krakoan gate somehow through Sage, who is the human computer, and now Wilson Fisk was able to get onto the island. X-Men proper is a weird place. I don't need to talk about it anymore.
Okay, but why did he show up though?
Well, I guess he's married to Typhoid Mary.
And Typhoid Mary's wait, is she a mutant in this?
No, but she shows up. She starts putting a big old knife on Sage's neck. Thematic. And she's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna like it here." And basically, the Brood made it so that they can go through any of the Krakoan gates, so that they can take over the universe. And it somehow made Wilson Fisk show up. I don't know, dude.
Weird fucking choice. I'm
X-Men is a weird place. I read X-Men proper because I just have a problem. I don't necessarily suggest it all the time.
We can get you help.
You can't. You can't. Not while I work at the comic book store.
Oh, that is true.
The real crown jewel of X-Men this week is Nightcrawlers, but maybe we'll talk about something else for a while first.
Okay, we could jump into Clear #1 and then jump back over to Nightcrawlers if we want.
Sure, and the only other thing I want to talk about is Poison Ivy, and then All-Star Superman.
Oh, Gucci. Okay. So let's talk about Clear #1. I got this sick Cliff Chiang cover for this book, and how this book works. I initially thought this was going to be like a multiverse book, which is to say I thought it was going to be heterosexual Casanova. It is not, in fact, heterosexual Casanova. It's somehow cooler and worse than that. What it is, so it collects the first 2 digital issues of the four issue series. It's 4 issues digitally, 2 in print, I think. Basically what's happening is Scott Snyder had a bunch of books that he published through Comixology Unlimited first. So like Night of the Ghoul, Barnstormers, other one, Clear, all came out months ago. Months and months ago, just not in print, and they're finally getting print released one at a time. So
I don't read online, so I don't know these things.
Like I don't read a ton online either. I just happen to like have known that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, they're releasing Clear right now, which is the book he did with Francis Manipool. The baseline premise of this book is that it's a pretty like stereotypical like cyberpunk dystopian future or whatever. The big thing here is there's this thing called veils, and everybody uses them, and it can basically change the skin of the world. It doesn't change the material reality, but if you don't want to look at your normal ass city or whatever, you can make it into a zombie apocalypse or the Old West, or
it's like not alternate reality, but
it kind of is. It's like a mix between a filter and like augmented reality.
Reality.
Yeah, it's kind of like an augmented reality thing where it doesn't change the material reality of, like, say there's like a speeding car, you might see it as like a horse-drawn carriage, but it's still ultimately a speeding car and it's going to run into your ass like a speeding car. It doesn't change the material reality, which is to say it doesn't change the material reality of this world, which sucks, but it will make it look kind of nicer maybe.
Okay. Would you get one of these chips if you were in the Clear universe?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure, and I was thinking about that, and part of me I think on principle would not want to, but another part of me would think like, yeah, honestly, probably. And there's a note in here, and we'll get to this quote later, about how veils are like 70% of the fucking market at this point. Like they're a huge portion of the American like consumer market, which is to say it's just become so fundamentally integrated into daily life that like it's not terribly different from like owning a car in some respects, or like, it's just a consumer, like almost everybody has like a lot of people have like smartphones now in a way that would have been unimaginable like 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
Like they've just become part of the fabric of life. A lot of people like have social medias that might not otherwise have social medias, just because it's become so integrated into like the basic day-to-day functionality of like the world and the market. And so, like, I probably would have some really goofy one or something.
So the guy in the book doesn't have a chip?
He doesn't have a chip,
and that makes him valuable.
Not even that it makes him valuable. It just is like his shtick.
Okay.
Is he's just like, I'm not like those other girls.
Yeah, he's
clear.
not like other girls.
Yeah, okay, so let me throw this out here right now. There's some really pretty art by Francis Manipool. There's some really interesting conceptual stuff that we will get into in a second. The protagonist is dry as dog food in the desert. He is a stock standard jaded noir guy with a dead wife whose only notable quality is he's not an alcoholic and he has a cool helmet. He is absolute blank slate of anything fucking interesting.
Really? He looks really cool.
He looks really cool. And it's surprising because Scott Snyder is like a good character writer. Like,
damn it.
He can do good stuff. And maybe there'll be more interesting stuff later, but yeah, the protagonist of Clear is like a stock standard annoying guy. He's fine. I don't hate him. He's readable, like, but he's just strangely boring.
Mm-hmm.
But at least the rest of the world is far more interesting. So yeah, let me get into that. There's two quotes I'd like to read from it, as well as showing y'all some art. The art is really, really pretty. Francis Manipool does the cover or the colors and the line work. It's really extraordinary. Let me find a bit. There's a really cool car chase sequence where like he basically gets hit with this thing that starts making you against your will, like basically it cuts through his clear functionalities and it starts making him hallucinate shit. So you see it's all the same. Like he's pulling on the guy over in this panel and he just looks like an old West guy. So like it can fragment your reality, make you see things that aren't there, but it doesn't change what is materially like real.
Right. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So it's really cool, but I'd like to share two quotes which I think are the most interesting parts of this book. The first one is after this chase sequence. He's monologuing like, you know, your jaded noir types usually do. And he said, "There is a clear setting. It lets you see things as they are. I'm the only person I know who uses it. Every year it's more expensive, and I ask myself, why bother? Everything old is run down. Everything new is made drab and plain on purpose, designed to be veiled. The warnings were always about some apocalyptic future, something cataclysmic, acute. No one warned us it'd be this, just slow and steady decline. Things cost more. It takes 3 months to get a washing machine or anything from overseas. There's news of the world if you want it, but no one does. It's all just exclamation points. The ice caps are gone forever. The ice caps are never coming back. The ice caps never even fucking existed. We have robots, workers that do the jobs we don't want to do, and veils that hide what we don't want to see. The veil industry composes nearly 70% of the economy at this point. So here we are, a future that isn't some primal scream of horror, but a billion little shrugs, a billion little sighs, a fucking shrug." And so that's interesting to me on a couple of levels. One, being clear seems to be almost like a subscription.
It's interesting that it's expensive.
And it gets more and more expensive every year. And also that things are designed to be veiled, made drab on purpose, because you can see this like now, like a lot of like interior design is like, and also just like design in movies and TV shows, like everything is made to be this like Apple Store chic bullshit.
Yeah.
Like everything is plain as fuck. And this book is tapping into that like everything just looks like sleek and impossibly boring.
Yeah.
Like we don't live in a future of like this grand apocalypse where like the earth split open and we all sunk into the sea instantaneously. It's just
fingers crossed though.
You know, Church of Meteor for those in the know. And I'm not talking about that liberal like bumper sticker. I'm talking about Sea Witch, which don't get me started on Sea Witch. It's a great book.
That's next episode.
We're gonna dive
that's
into
a Patreon episode.
We're gonna deep dive into Never Angeline North's phenomenal trans novel Sea Witch. Catch us in that. But anyway, yeah, just this idea that the future is like it's not a grand apocalypse. It's just that things day by day, minute by minute, year by year just get just a little bit fucking worse all the time, and we just keep going along because it's never bad enough or like catastrophic enough for us to like for it to ruin the status quo or the state of affairs. The state of affairs, the status quo just sucks a little bit more. little by little.
What's his goal?
Something has got a dead wife and she was murdered, and it has something to do with veils, and there's blah 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 blah. Most of it's honestly pretty boring, but the what but what is
Scott
interesting.
Snyder is the one viewer in the chat right now.
No, look, I love Scott Snyder. I really like his work. I actually go to bat really hard about his Batman stuff, which I will maybe talk about one day. The one interesting plot thing that I think we should talk about is, before we get to the second quote, is that veils are specifically a singular user experience. They are mandated by law to be a singular user experience. Like, and the reason this is when one could share.
Oh, you were telling me about this.
Yeah, when one could share veils, you could cause mass delusions, because if somebody doesn't know that they're being hit with a veil, it's kind of like drugging someone without their knowledge or consent in some way, and then they start hallucinating things and they don't know that they've been drugged, so that they like it freaks them out and they don't know how to handle it because they don't have the context for that they've been drugged. And it's kind of like that. Like there was mass murders, there was like mass delusions, there was like mass suicides, there was a whole thing when these things were unregulated by the government. And so there is now like intensely heavy regulation around that all veils have to be single user. However, there is a veil black market, and the wife died because something black market. There's something going on. There's a lot of black market stuff, but what's really scary is there is supposedly this terrorist group that is like hitting people with these mass delusion ones, so that people, it's not clear why or how, and it honestly seems a little bit like I'm starting to doubt the narrative here about them being terrorists, just because like I know how stories go, and it seems to be kind of indicating towards that.
This ain't your first rodeo.
This ain't my first rodeo.
Is she kind of a woman in a fridge?
Yeah, okay, let me put it this way. She's kind of a woman in a fridge, but she's also kind of not, because she'd have to be more of a character to be put in the fridge.
I see.
She's kind of just she's dead from the start. You see her like jump off the bridge in the very beginning, like hallucinating a bunch of different veil situations, and that's all we've really gotten from her so far.
I see.
Maybe there will be more. And the thing is, like, Scott Snyder can write very good women characters. Like he has a really really good like Poison Ivy Batman story that I really really like, among other things. And Wytches was really good. But yeah, anyway, point being, this is not one of his better like character pieces by any means, but there is some really interesting prescient stuff. I'm going to jump to the second quote, and I think that'll be most of what I have to say. This is very interesting, however. So it flashes back to his time in the military towards the beginning, which all takes place before the story. Before he became a cop, before like he's also a cop. Like before he became a cop, he was in the military, and this was during the Red War, right? Which is it's what you think it is. It's the war against the communists, quote unquote. It's like, and also not the communists, because specifically I think Putin is mentioned. But here's what's relevant. Okay. He's on a warship. They just fired missiles at mainland China, right? I'm telling you, that feeling. We all felt it. Hell, everyone I knew had signed up, from old women to kids lying about their age. It's awful to say, but it's true. We were afraid, sure, but we were so fucking excited. After years of fighting each other, of hating ourselves, here was an enemy. Here was purpose. Here was something real. In that one moment, the last 40 years of decline, none of it mattered. This was a new day, a feeling like that, it stays with you. But then the next moment happens, and then all the missiles come back at their own ship. We knew the Chinese had bugs in our bullets, we just figured we had bugs in those bugs, and so on. But every single shot came back at us. So as much as I remember that feeling before we fired, the feeling after is what I recall most vividly. The feeling that everything I'd believed, all of it was a lie and a trap, and that now I was going to die for nothing. Now that feeling, it stays with you much longer. That's the most interesting part of this book so far, is like because the United States has not had like, the United States does this, right? Like it needs, and all empires do this, it needs to have an enemy, and it usually needs to have an international enemy to frame itself against. And the United States hasn't had like this international boogeyman since like Iraq and Afghanistan. Like it hasn't really had this like international boogeyman figure, and it like kind of sort of does this with China, and it kind of sort of tried to do this with like Assad is Libya, right? I think yeah with Libya. Like it's kind of tried to do it, but it's not in the same way that like the United States had like the enemy of the Soviet Union or the enemy of Vietnam or the enemy of Nazi Germany. Like it always needs an enemy figure. And so how do you combat decline, or how do you combat this sense of like decline like domestically? The sense that like your empire is crumbling and falling apart. You find a new enemy. Like you have to find an enemy like to keep your like empire going.
Yeah.
And so
it's war hungry.
And so they've gotten to a point in which like they're fighting this quote unquote red war or whatever against China and the Soviet Union. I think it's still the Soviet Union in this book, and it takes place in like 2038 or whatever. So they have this moment where they're like, ooh rah, we're gonna go blow up some people. That's, it's really fucked up nationalism stuff. But then the bombs come back.
Yeah.
And what sticks with him,
they just flip on around.
What sticks with him more than the like the national glee at getting to kill the other again, to otherize people and then murder them, is the feeling that this was all a fucking lie. that this nationalist project was dumb as shit to begin with.
It was some idle hands shit.
It was some idle hand shit. And I'd like to go on a brief tangent here, which I think is very interesting, is that like in this book it tries to position like China specifically as like the conceptual enemy of the United States, but like and people have talked about this. There's been a lot of conversation recently that like will the United States and China, like, will the United States focus on China as like the big next national enemy? Like, and I saw something Mia Wong talked about that I thought was very, very interesting. She's a podcaster. She works on It Could Happen Here as well as Behind the Bastards, a couple other things. And she basically made this point that I thought was very, very interesting, and I just wanted to like very briefly touch on that. Like the United States, she thinks the United States is not likely to ever be able to fully go to war with China, specifically because like there are two sections of like American capital, and also like the like political leaders absolutely want to use China as like the enemy. However, American capitalists can't quite let them, because like, and her theory is that like because like American and Chinese capital is so like wrapped up in each other, and be like that they can't, that the United States can never actually commit to making like China the international boogeyman, like to a degree in which they could actually go to war about it.
It's such an alliance.
It's such an alliance. Yeah, no, and like as much as there's posturing about this, and you see this with the you saw this with the Soviet Union too, and during the Cold War, is that as much posturing as there is, and in the Soviet Union's case was like especially dangerous given the whole nuke scenario, but like not that we don't have nukes now and things like that, because we do. But anyway, point being, like you see that posturing, but like if you look at some of the things, like the United States and the Soviet Union were both fucking around in Afghanistan doing imperialism shit, and like that was connected, like the way, especially after like Gorbachev came in, that like capital became part of like the cultural life of the Soviet Union, like, or capital got into the Soviet Union, like and you see this with China too, like how many like American capitalists have moved all of their shit over to China, and like Chinese factories like are related to American factories, and like how American and Chinese capitalists both like work together as part of the capitalist project. And then like a note about this that Mia made was that like you'd expect like a dipshit like Elon Musk to be like fully on board the like warmongering train with China, but he's not. And you'll occasionally see him like post pro-China things because he has so much capital wrapped up, like in mainland China, and so they can never quite like go fully to war unless something happened, Like, unless there was like an inciting incident, it's not just going to happen. Like,
Yeah, they're very hand in hand.
In the same way that cops and clan go hand in hand, capital across borders goes hand in fucking hand. American capitalists, Chinese capitalists, capitalists across the goddamn globe love to hold each other's hands as they fuck the rest of us to death.
Class solidarity.
So if you know, oh god, I'm trying to think of what I am allowed to say. Redacted, 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 redacted. Burn the redacted. Yeah, we should stop me before I say some shit that really gets us in trouble.
We already said the F slur.
I mean things that would put us on like watch lists if we're not already on watch lists, which is to say we're probably already on watch.
What's not to watch? I mean, look at us.
Oh, I'm watching those.
Yeah. Happy International Women's stream.
Happy International Women's Day, except for women capitalists. You are capitalist pigs too.
Yeah.
We support. I make the joke about supporting women's rights and women's wrongs, but women war criminals and women capitalists all deserve the boot.
The boot.
Your future of decline and extravagant wealth will burn just like your factories, and just like your capital.
You know,
no, I'm like really holding back here.
Here we go. You know who else hates capitalists?
Who?
Poison Ivy.
Ooh, let's talk about Poison Ivy before I get us put on a watch list.
Again.
Again.
What's not to watch? Don't moan.
That was not a moan. That was a whimper.
That was a whimper. You're right. Don't whimper.
Look, I am just a small animal.
I'm sorry that I'm hot.
I'm not sorry that you're hot.
So I say that Poison Ivy hates capitalists because in this one, she likes, you know, I think she's being positioned as kind of like this feminist icon-ish, like within this book. But then she meets a woman CEO, and she fucking hates her.
Based.
Very based. Let me see if I can find that page. So there's this new girl that's like really into Pamela, which is Poison Ivy's name, her government name, her dead name. Really.
Oh, her dead name.
I'm dead naming Poison Ivy right now.
Oh, you're gonna get so canceled on Poison Ivy Twitter.
Finally, God. God, I really like this new look that they have for Poison Ivy. In all of the books, she's in a big green sort of like military jumpsuit with her flowing red Jessica Rabbit hair.
Ooh, she's just like you for real.
She kind of is. I'm like, both books have like hot ass redheads who are gay as fuck. These are the books that I have reviewed today.
Finally, some fucking representation.
Finally, delicious. So, I kind of want to bring you up to speed a bit on Poison Ivy.
Oh, hit me with it.
But I also want to show you the part where there's a big lesbian orgy in book 10, which came out yesterday. Or no, I guess it came out Tuesday, huh?
Oh yeah, technically Tuesday, since DC decided to do that weird bullshit where they come out on Tuesdays. Unlike the DC's not like the other girls.
It's really not. Basically, in Poison Ivy book 9, Harley Quinn finally shows up. She hasn't been in the books at all. They basically have a whole issue of just fucking and like going on dates and being in love. And Harley Quinn's like, I'm not doing this cottagecore shit with you. I'm going back to the city, but like, have fun, and I'll see you when you get back. But like, I have to go back to Gotham. I don't do this. So in book 10, Harley Quinn's gone. Her girlfriend's gone, and she's horny. She's horny for women sexually. She's a lesbian.
Okay, so very, very relatable concepts in this book so far.
And there's this girl, Janet, who she's been living with, doing some cottagecore shit, and Janet basically confesses her love for her, and she's like, okay, whatever. And Janet convinces her to go to a retreat. And they get there, and it's like, it's very white feminism. It's like white girls doing yoga, like practicing green capitalism, which they name here. Janet actually says, why are you like this? It's okay to relax and have some fun. Besides, you'd love Gwendolyn Caltrope, which is the name of the CEO. Her whole deal is about being environmentally aware and practicing conscious capitalism. And Poison Ivy's like, did you just say conscious capitalism? And the face is pure contempt.
I just like I what a lesbian fuck up.
She's
to like to like roll up and be like, hey girl, I love you. Also, do you want to go to this capitalist retreat?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, my pussy would dry up.
They definitely met on Lex.
God damn it.
Anyways, they get to the retreat. She fucking hates it. She's rolling her eyes at everything. And then she's kind of getting mad at herself for like hating everyone else having fun. And she's like, you know what? I should just relax. And then she drinks some of the like mushroom wine that happens. And she realizes that like they use mushrooms that she's been creating throughout the whole book. And everyone gets high as fuck.
Ooh.
So high. Like deep psychedelia. And they all just start fucking. And we have like 2 pages of this glorious lesbian fuck scene.
Oh my god, wow.
And it's just beautiful. Look at Janet like taking her shirt off there.
That's like simultaneously really hot, but it is also it makes me sad that these are all like at best DSA girls.
Oh yeah, no, they ain't shit. But
yeah.
But it's a fun scene, and
yeah,
clearly Poison Ivy's just trying to have some fun.
Yeah,
she misses Harley. She's horny. She fucks a bunch of bitches about it. She gets high. Janet confesses her feelings in more powerful ways. And then, what's the little cliffhanger? Basically, the cliffhanger is that the mushrooms went too hard and everyone's becoming mushrooms, and they're gonna figure some shit out. Anyways, that's part of the new arc.
Okay.
So the new arc is her, like, trying to contend with this, like, it's actually weird because we're also watching The Last of Us right now, which is all about cordyceps. She's inventing cordyceps, like, to take over the world with in this book.
So she's inventing new types of girl boss cordyceps.
Yeah. And it feels very The Last of Us, but it's not. So I don't know.
The lesbian of us.
The whole thing with the Poison Ivy series is that she's kind of, at least in the first like 8 or 9 books, they're all written as letters to Harley.
Oh.
And they're like, I'm sorry I left. I'm not Queen Ivy anymore. I'm just regular Ivy again. And I miss you, but I have to go on this journey. And like, she doesn't really reveal it to Harley, but it's actually like this like cross-country like suicide mission that she's on, where she's gonna spread her cordyceps all over the country and then die beautifully, and like because they're gonna kill her too, like they're strong cordyceps. And she ends up it's my favorite arc of the book is when she kills the man who experimented on her.
Hell yeah.
It's like really gratifying. It's like the first arc. I took some notes on it. It definitely hits me as someone who's like a survivor of like violence. It's very much like a rape revenge sort of storyline.
Yeah.
But that's not really what happened, but like it feels like that's what they're speaking on.
Yeah.
I suppose.
It's the metaphor.
It's the metaphor. So yeah, I guess when they wrote Poison Ivy's origin, it was a person named Woodrow. She was in college. She got experimented on. And in these books, she was very much supposed to die. Like, he was experimenting on her so brutally in a way to kill her. But she didn't die.
Okay.
She just, like, became Poison Ivy, and, like, the experiments worked. She runs into this guy in this series, and it, like, fucks her up mentally. Like, she has a lot of problems with it. She, like... when you're reading the book, like, the way that she's dealing with trauma is so psychedelic. It's a very psychedelic book. See if actually I might have that issue on me. Do I? I feel like I did. I like wanted to pull it out because it's actually really pretty.
Let me see if
I think I have it right here.
Oh, you do. Perfect. Oh, it's that cover. Is that Jessica Fong? I think.
I don't know. It's a fucking amazing cover though. She's like covered in mushrooms and stuff.
Oh, I love that.
I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, it should say on the side right there. Is that? Oh no, it's not Jessica Fong. That's Warren.
Warren Liu.
Warren Liu.
I have the variant cardstock variant for Poison Ivy number 6. But yeah, it's just like the way that it's drawn. It's very much a horror, but they just take into account like the psychedelic nature of dealing with trauma and the way that it like messes up your brain chemistry, just like the paneling and stuff, like the way everything's wavy, the way like everything is like gooey. It's got this like psychedelia to it that like I really it makes a lot of sense to me.
Absolutely.
So what's really interesting too is that she defeats him by eating him. Like piece by piece, she eats every bit of him. He's become like this giant sort of tall tree man known as the Floronic Man. And he basically defeats her, and like he takes control of her cordyceps and makes her put her own knife to her neck. Here we go again with the knife on the neck.
Seems to be
it's a theme today.
The Grable's voice, like, can you guess the episode's theme?
And anyways, she actually relents too. Like he really defeats her, and she's like, you know what, this is how I die. This is it. Like I spread my cordyceps across the world. And then he starts getting on this sort of like, I'm stealing your cordyceps, by the way. I'm taking them. I know how you made them. They are going to be very marketable in all parts of like warring nations. I'm going to make $1 billion. And she's like, whatever, I'm dying. I don't care. And then he's like, and then I'm going to find your blonde girlfriend. And I'm going to turn her inside out, not because I need to, but because I just want to. And, and that's when she like turns back into Queen Ivy.
Ooh.
See if I can find that page. It's powerful. And she's just like, don't you fuck with my girlfriend.
Aww.
It's very, very... That's where she's eating him.
Oh, yeah. After this, I want to return to that page. Something to say.
Oh, yeah. Here it is. This is where she, like, sort of turns back into Queen Ivy. And she's like, fuck you. You know, I was going to die, but then you started talking about my bitch, and I'm going to kill you now. And she brings the entire building down on them, and it crushes him, and he's still kind of like gurgling and kind of alive, and he has these regenerative powers, so she's like, you know what, I'm just gonna eat him. And she starts just by the handful, just devour, and he's like made out of mushrooms and stuff, so it's just kind of like a salad, I like to think.
Yeah, no, it's basically salad. It's vegetarian cannibalism.
Here, I'm gonna turn back to the page where she's doing that so you can witness.
Yeah, show the viewers at home the page.
She's
so two things about this.
Piece by piece.
First of all, hot. Second of all, I love when in this metaphor rapists die. And third of all, this is the ending of Chainsaw Man.
Is it? Oh my god!
It literally is. It literally is. It literally is the ending of the Chainsaw Man public safety arc. Cause yeah, you get like person who like made you through, in Chainsaw Man's case, grooming, depowers you, nearly kills you, forces you to almost forces you to kill yourself and obey him, and then like after a battle, the hero decides to eat the villain because the villain can regenerate and can repair themselves.
That's right.
And so the hero has to literally eat their abuser. This is the ending of fucking Chainsaw Man and Poison Ivy.
Oh, okay. And I was feeling a lot of parallels with The Last of Us too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Are we just feeling the inspirations? Is that what it is?
I think we're feeling the inspirations, but also this is literally the plot of Chainsaw Man.
Well, this was my favorite arc of Poison Ivy. You know, I like both of those things.
I mean, a woman of excellent taste, I see.
Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna keep reading it. I like it a lot. Poison Ivy is just hot. She's cool. I also need to pick back up on Harley Quinn. I haven't been reading the Harley Quinns. That's probably gonna be my next catch-up book that I catch up on.
Hell yeah.
And I suggest you read it too, viewers at home. And if you do read it and you have any comments on it, send me an email and talk to me about it, or come to the stream and talk to me about it.
Hit us up on Twitter.
Hit us up on Twitter.
Messenger pigeon, if you got one of those.
You can email me at perildoom3000@gmail.com.
Beautiful. And you can hit me up on Twitter at plaguing possum. It's plaguing like playing, but plague _ possum. So yeah, and we'll also have a bunch of these in the link tree in the show notes and shit. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna read Poison Ivy now. I'd been considering and I wanted to read it, but
it's a good jumping on point right now because we've basically started a new arc. Like I would start at book 9 because that's when she stops writing these letters to Harley and kind of decides she's not gonna like die.
Mm-hmm.
And she's killed her rapist and she wants to go be a big dyke again in the city. So this is a good place to jump in.
Good place to jump in, but I do want to read those letters because I really like that framing device. I think
wonderful.
It's a fun little framing device.
It's really wonderful.
It's good. God bless G. Willow Wilson.
Oh yeah, it's G. Willow Wilson. I guess I should say the name, so.
Yeah, G. Willow Wilson, who you might know from, she was one of the co-creators of Kamala Khan.
That's right.
As well as Air, which just came out this week, which,
the art's really good.
The art is really good. Yeah, I can run hot or cold on, like, superhero books, but I do like the art for this Poison Ivy book.
We got G. Willow Wilson is the writer. Artist is Marcio Takara. Colors RF Prianto. And I think it's been the 3 of them this whole time.
Yeah, no, it's a consistent
lettering Hassan Otsmane El How.
Hassan Otsmane El Heu. I'm forgetting how to pronounce I've heard him say it before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's on Twitter too. He's the one who does I've shown it before, panel by panel.
We're
panel
getting names right on this podcast.
Yeah, we are getting names right on this podcast, and I will double check the pronunciation of that, the last part of his name.
Hopefully we got it right.
But yeah, Hassan, very, very nice dude, and he's an excellent letterer. He was the letterer on Above Snakes as well.
Yeah, Above Snakes had amazing lettering.
Yeah, he and Aditya Bidikar are like 2 of the best letterers in the game right now. Like they're just incredible. Oh, I love women, and that's literally us.
I literally want to buy another DC number 9 just so I can pull out all these sex scenes and put them on my wall.
You should.
Like number 9, it's a good one.
Also, that they were literally us. Oh wait, sorry, did I say too much?
If you don't know what's up, I'm not gonna explain it to you, audience, all one of you who is really just me.
Yeah, that'll be part of the deep lore for people who I don't know, just don't know at this point.
Yeah, that's for the OnlyFans.
Oh yeah. Subscribe to. We haven't made it yet, but subscribe to us on OnlyFans.
Yeah, I'd be interested if you read Poison Ivy because I need your help in determining what her political leanings are.
Oh, okay.
Like she wants to be an eco-terrorist, and like I get that. She's a big carnivore, and like she hates green capitalism. She never says she's an anarchist.
Oh no, I can tell you exactly what she is.
She will sometimes say terrorist.
She's an primitivist.
Ooh.
She's the green
she's a primmy.
Yeah, she's a green and black flagger.
Oh,
she 100% is green and black flagger.
I see now.
She's the kind of bitch that like is going to like she does not want anything to do with society. She doesn't believe society should exist. She's gonna have her little cabin out in the woods or whatever, and just like grow her forests and shit. Like she really hates invasive species. That's another one.
Mm-hmm. She's very, very gay, but she's got no bisexuality in sight, as far as I can tell.
Whereas Harley Quinn's the bisexual girlfriend.
Yeah, she's got the bisexual girlfriend. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I see. Here's the thing. I think Poison Ivy's politics are extremely clear. I think just DC are cowards, and like
it kind of changes between different. Like I feel like Poison Ivy in the animated series kind of is a different political leaning than the one in this series.
Yeah,
which is different than the one from the Fear State last year.
Yeah, like different
when she was Queen Ivy, and she was this like plant fascist.
Oh, a flashist.
Yeah, a flashist. which was coined here on the cast.
Oh yeah, so if you hear the term plashes floating around in academic circles in the near coming future, know that
Academic circles. All the academic circles stealing our language on this podcast.
Yeah, they're like our academic Johns.
Been there.
Rhetorical Johns. Johns of
the amount of Cal professors I know way too intimately.
Faculty, you know?
Faculty. Ooh, that's the new name of the podcast.
Yeah,
for no reason, really.
Where we talk about different professors that we have sucked and or fucked.
We're okay. We talked about Poison Ivy. Yeah, now we're gonna talk about what else is on the docket? You want to do Doom Patrol?
Let's do Spa. Let's do
Spa. Talk to me about Spa.
Spa, not to be confused with Spawn. Anyway, that joke was funnier in my head. We'll cut that in post.
No, we won't.
Oh, you're just gonna leave me hanging? I'm gonna leave
you hanging, yeah.
God, you're such a.
I'll add a laugh track.
You're such a sadist.
In a cute way.
Oh no, in a cute way. Don't get me wrong. Okay, so anyway, Anyway, Spa by Eric Svetoft. This book is hideous, it is rancid, and it's a little bit divine. Like a curdled brain tumor bubbling out of your tear ducts. It's a nasty little book. I fucking love it. The thing...
Did you write that down?
I did write that.
What the fuck?
I'm proud of that one.
I like it.
Thank you. So the plot of this book, more or less, it's kind of a loose plot. It's a little more vibes centric.
Oh, it's a pretty hardcover.
It's a very pretty hardcover.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a colorization of a scene from the book where Oink, king of the pigs of the pig parade, unleashes the Boschian pig parade. We will talk about Oink in a second because I love him and he's one of the only good people here. What this book is about is it's about a spa retreat in Northern Europe. It's 100% Sweden, but it's a spa retreat in Northern Europe where the rich and the famous go. Things are weird from the jump. Like, it opens on this couple who are like watching a man getting beaten to death outside of their house, and they're like, "Have we always lived here?" And they start talking, and they're like, "Maybe, the vibes are off. Maybe we should go to this retreat, have an all-inclusive kind of like spa rejuvenation weekend or whatever." And they're saying this as they're looking directly at like rotting dead bodies in their apartment. Maybe not their apartment. It's really unclear. And so it's basically just this book set at the spa where like there's a bunch of side characters. We will be talking about a bunch of them over time. And it's just kind of like things that are happening to them in this spa where like the walls are bleeding this kind of like black goop or tar or whatever. Yeah, there's weird like just like, yeah, dead bodies will kind of just be around sometimes, but nobody... That's kind of the thing about this book is that like there is weird shit from the beginning, but almost nobody really seems to notice or mind. They all seem to be kind of, if they even notice at all, which most of them don't, they all seem pretty ambivalent about it. They seem kind of like, oh, I guess this is happening, if they acknowledge it at all. And so it kind of reminds me a little bit of John Kent Mortensen's art, where he does these like little pictures where kids are confronted with these like giant monsters that would normally scare children, and they are bored at best, if not actively annoyed, all the kids, by the presence of these monsters. And that's kind of the vibe here, is these rich people looking at just like wretched bodies falling apart and like black ooze coming out of the ceiling, and they're just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, it has this. There's like a melancholy.
Yeah,
like throughout the book, it has a mood of. It has a sort of like pen drawn, sort of like casual cartooning sort of feel, but with like a deep creep underneath it all.
Yeah, there's something about the simpleness of the figures while also like emphasizing like their scratches and wrinkles, not even super hard, like not in like a Noah Bailey way, but in a like, it doesn't have a lot, like it's still pretty simple drawings relatively speaking, and I don't mean that as a knock. Like they are relatively like simple in their stylizations, but they are like heightened just a little bit and just a little bit weathered and just a little bit elongated and just a little bit exaggerated in ways that become unsettling.
Yeah, I feel unsettled flipping through it.
It's deeply unsettling, and the longer you read it, like I do recommend reading this book directly in a row because it just gets more and more unsettling as it goes, and that cumulative like dread really fucking works. There's comparisons to David Lynch and Junji Ito on the back, and usually that's dog shit. Usually, if somebody is saying something is Lynchian or like Junji Ito, they're fucking wrong.
Wow, I say this all the time about things.
Well, you're right, Queen, but that's a different story. The thing I'm talking about mainly big time critics or whatever. When like national news publications are like, this movie is Lynchian, it's like, okay, it's a little bit weird, but that's not Lynchian. It's like, but the comparisons to David Lynch and Junji Ito are really apt here.
I wanted to describe it under those terms, but you think it fits actually.
It actually fits. This one, it actually fits. And it fits in a couple of ways. Like it fits the transforming the mundane into the horrific, like the horrific in the mundane itself, which is a huge part of the Lynchian. Like the disease like tar beneath the pristine facade of the system. You see that a lot in you see that in Twin Peaks: The Return. You see that in Blue Velvet. It's like the tar beneath the pristine facade of the system. There's a playful quality to the transformation and deterioration of the body, like in Junji Ito. Like there's some of these things which are genuinely very horrific. There's also a sequence when two repair guys are supposed to be repairing the like plumbing or whatever to help stem the tide of the black goo or whatever, and one of them hits himself in the head with a hammer, and then the other one's like, no, I've got this, and he like goes to hit the pipe with the hammer and ends up like flinging it too far back and just hitting the guy in the head with a hammer again.
Does he die?
No, maybe. It's actually unclear if the guy dies or not. The other guy just puts a Band-Aid on his head and like kisses it. It's really cute. But they're just like smashing the place up. Like they clearly don't know what they're doing. So there's the transformation and deterioration of the body in this very playful way is like very Junji Ito. There's also a couple like images which remind me a lot of Junji Ito, and also like doppelgangers are a big part of this in a way that I'm going to start tripping over myself if I try to explain, but like in this book. But doppelgangers are huge in David Lynch's work. You especially see this in like Twin Peaks: The Return. So it's like actually kind of apt. And then you see like there's a lot of Boschian like elements of that, if the Garden of Earthly Delights and the Garden of Heaven and Hell. John Ken Mortensen, who I also mentioned before. You see a little bit of like Little Nightmares, actually, if you've played that game, where like there's the guy in the orphanage whose arms are extremely long and his head is like gigantic and it sits on his neck kind of weird. And you see the way that like bodies sag and wrinkle and like extend and that it reminds, a lot of figures in this book are like that. So it takes jumping on here, it takes about 100 pages of buildup for things to start going off the rails. Like things are weird. There's the black ooze like bleeding everywhere. There's like the dead bodies people occasionally see. There's some unsettling shit, but it doesn't really start to go off the rails until about 100 pages in. It takes about another.
I just opened the first page and the children were going through their house full of corpses. It went not off the rails for 100 pages.
Oh, see, like there's like this like normalcy where people are maintaining the sense of normalcy. Like weird things happen, but not a ton of really weird shit happens. This is a Swedish guy? Swedish guy, yeah.
It just feels Swedish to me.
It is very Swedish.
I can't explain that, but I'm just like, yeah, you're keeping it cool while everything's fucking weird because you just keep it cool.
Well, there's that, and then also the hollow-eyed, like, these are rich people, and like almost none of them can have a conversation. There's like multiple sections where like rich people are like trying to talk to each other, and they just like say like an empty phrase or whatever. They're just like, it's a little warm today. And then they just sit there in silence for like 4 panels. And then they're like, well, I guess I may be a touch anxious. And someone's like, why is that? And then they sit in silence for 4 more panels. I don't know. Like these rich people have nothing to talk about because they're all empty, dead husks. They are walking black holes in the skin of human beings, and this is why rich people should be fed into their own meat grinder of
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna start.
Eat the rich.
Eat the rich. Throw them into the gears of their own infernal machines. Like in the slaughterhouse of capital, all shall be hung from the hooks, even the other capitalists. Capital will devour you to maintain itself. So do not, and I repeat, do not become the slave of the goddamn cannibal machine of fucking capital. It will eat you too. Anyway, before I get too far off track,
Swoon.
one of these days I'll have to read my Cosmopolis review on stream. Okay, so to start kind of getting into the book a little bit more, there's a bunch of characters in this book. There's an exhausted and weary spa director who, this guy is just so fucking tired. His dad left him this place when he was like 10. His dad was a billionaire who founded this place, and he's just like, hey son, you're a 10-year-old, right? I've taught you everything you need to know. How about running the spa for me while I go drink around the world? And this kid's like, I'm 10. Shouldn't I go to school? And dad's like, fuck that. I taught you.
I taught you.
I taught you all.
I learned you.
I learned you all you need to know. So now he's been doing this for like fucking like decades at this point, and he's just like nursing his drink sad all the fucking time, mostly spending his time berating people or like tired of their shit. He stares into this painting in his office and imagines these little like scenes between friends, like going skiing or going to the beach, and just like he's just like imagining having friends. He's just like staring dead-eyed into this painting, exhausted, like nursing a drink, just like imagining people enjoying each other's presence, and it's really sad. Like, and you get all those flashbacks to this douchebag dad who doesn't care about him at all. You have his doting assistant who like, oh, we'll talk about that Oink scene in a second.
I just turned to a scary page.
Yeah, there's Oink, King of the King of the Pig Parade, and that's not his name in the book. The reason I call him Oink, the King of the Pig Parade, is because he's a new guy working at the spa, and a little bit of the black tar drips from the ceiling and lands on his shirt, and basically the assistant to the spa director sees it and verbally berates him, and then is like, we're doing a team building exercise, leads him into a room, sits him down into a chair, puts a fake, like a pig nose over his own, like not like a, like a, you know, like a mask, like a pig nose mask over his own, and then just has his coworker shout oink at him for 30 minutes, and then just makes him wear that, and this comes up a couple of times. Team building exercises as like ritual humiliation, which like if you've ever worked in service or retail, yeah, that it kind of do be like that. You get you get
it's like a hazing ritual.
It's a little bit like a hazing ritual, but it's like a humiliation thing. It's a little bit like, well, see, okay, so you get kind of two strands when you work service. Like you either get people who like stand in solidarity with you because they understand that this fucking sucks, that you're all part of the proletariat here, and like you're getting fucked together. Like even if you're not unionizing, there's a kind of solidarity and unionization, like emotionally, with like your workers as your fellow workers, is like, this shit sucks and we're gonna look out for each other. Then you kind of get the other side of it, where people are like worn down and exhausted. Your fellow workers are worn down and exhausted, and they take it out on you because like, and they'll take it out on whoever, because like whoever is a convenient target to lash out at. Like I saw this a lot with like other service people who were not working with me at Pete's would often terrorize me pretty bad when I worked at Pete's, and that was because like they didn't feel like they had power in their lives, but here's like this company in some sense giving them power over another worker. Like they can yell at the person in the drive-through line, they can yell at the person at the barista counter, they can yell at their coworker who fucked up. Like they can be given an opportunity to by the powers that be to exert power when they feel powerless. Like, and this is a thing I feel like I've run into a lot. Like I've often seen the solidarity end of it too. And so they just like oink at him and he has to keep wearing this thing. He eventually finds these two weird baby pigs in like a secret cubby of his room, and he starts holding them, and all of these like you see it on the cover, all of these pig people eventually pour out of his bedroom, and some of them are cartoony, some of them are massive, some of them are like horror shows. They're all leaking different things. Some of them are on pig trotters, some of them are on legs, some of them have clothes, most of them do not. They have distended limbs, like, and he just kind of becomes lord of the pig parade.
He takes on the mantle of the pig monarch, Oinker.
Yeah. And it's interesting because usually the pig is the symbol of like the oppressor. Like usually it's like pig is the symbol of the police or pig is the symbol of like the capitalist class. But here, like, the pigs are the downtrodden very much. And so he kind of just becomes this guy with a menagerie of weird fucked up pigs, and they kind of just wander around the place.
I like this pig who has pigs for boobs.
Oh yeah, there is a pig lady who has pig titties.
Yeah, she holds up. Imagine this, but they're pigs.
And imagine they're squirting black tar out of there. I'm not imagining that at all. God, I'm being horny in stream again. Anyway, yeah, and so like there's a really interesting bit with him where he's kind of just like got his menagerie of pigs and he's just around the spa as things deteriorate. Eventually the big final scene with him is he's like hanging out outside of somebody's room where the pigs are everywhere. And there's another worker who ends up escaping after things get like catastrophically fucked up. And he's got a giant flower that was once a sword or was once a sharp object pierced through somebody else. There's a reason that transformed into a flower and it's too complicated to explain. But anyway, this worker sees the sad oink guy and he's just like, hey man, here's this flower. I hope you feel better. And the guy just starts crying and all the pigs start crying. Like, it's the way that like it's that way that like you are so beaten down and like terrorized, like working for these service institutions, that even the smallest gesture of kindness like is just like so emotional. Like it made me kind of emotional when people like just said thank you. Like at my service jobs, because I was just so used to being like treated like shit and that I was like nothing, that like even just the tiniest scraps of like basic human decency like meant a lot to me. And it was a very weird little moment of just like, oh, I recognize that. Like, so you get him, there's a whole thing where like there's a VIP and a chef, and the VIP doesn't like his food and the chef eventually kills him and then like takes his place. He like dyes his hair and makes himself look like the other guy, and then the other guy comes back to kill him.
We really go places here.
We really go places here. The rich couple at the beginning who see things, they're like who see the corpses, who you see at the beginning, like there's a bit where they maybe not die, but then they wake up in this other reality in which they're rich people in this manner. And they get a visitor at the door, this faceless visitor at the door, and this faceless person unbuttons their shirt to reveal a face in their stomach, and then that face emerges from the faceless person and becomes a human body.
Men.
And then as this happens, yeah. And as this happens, the butler and the maid both shoot the rich people in the fucking neck, and like they bleed out and die, and then the maid and the butler start slow dancing as like together as like the face of the faceless person starts dancing or playing the piano, and then like the black tar seeps in, and then they get regenerated somewhere else. It's unclear what exactly is going on. It's a lot of like,
this is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. Like his dad comes back and like gets his face obliterated by a centipede, and then the centipede like takes over his dad's body and then is like, hey son, I know I told you to go fuck yourself and that you were bad at your job, but you know, the board and I, the dead board that is now rotting inside the boardroom, and your dead dad, who I'm now piloting, have decided that you should be the director again. I'm gonna go drink overseas, son. Have a good time. And then the little centipede like crawls out of his dad's eye and then like kisses him on the cheek. And it's like, Jesus Christ. This book is so good. The whole like slapstick repair guy's routine that I mentioned earlier. There's like this poor like massage guy with really long arms, and he just wants to be included in shit. And everybody like keeps lying to him and like the other workers keep telling him that like they're not doing things after work, but then right in front of him will be like, oh yeah, let's go to happy hour, and this poor guy just wants to be included. Like there's a lot of like really weird shit. And it's
this
hard.
person's definitely worked like fast food, retail, like
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
like it's a lot of like mild social trauma exemplified and horrified in the pages of this book.
It is, and it's really weird because it says
And
on
family shit.
and family shit. Yeah, it's like daddy issues. Like on the back of the book, it says that it's a satiric critique of consumer society and the wellness industry, and like vaguely both of those things maybe, but I think what it's really is more of a critique of how capital and wealth like rots your fucking brain, and how the service industry erodes your soul until even the smallest act of kindness can bring you to tears. Like, again, rich people be fucking stupid. Like, rich people need to be redacted with rocks. Like this is the whole thing with this book is that like none of these rich people have anything worthwhile to say to each other. They have barely recognizable human emotions. They are largely apathetic and or just mean. They are just like casually mean, or like, yeah, it's either just like mean-spiritedness where they're just like lashing out at other people and treating other people like shit, or they just have nothing of any substance to say to each other, or like any real feelings. Like it's very, very interesting. This book hates rich people, and it's correct.
Okay, I need to read it.
You do.
Were there more at the store?
There were not. I took the one.
Yeah, there was only this one, right? You kept talking about Spa, and I'm like, I don't see it anywhere because you snagged it.
I snagged it immediately. It came in, I think, a week or two late. It came in a week or two late. I thought we weren't gonna get it because I don't know where, because it's a Fantagraphics book, and the Fantagraphics thing is like separate. It's a separate ordering system that Jack uses, and I don't know what it is. So I don't know how to look up like what books we are or aren't getting from Fantagraphics, so I just assumed he didn't order it. So I was going to go in and put it on the Diamond want list, because it's also on Diamond for some fucking reason, because comic book distribution is a goddamn nightmare. Like, and it's nonsense. Yeah, that's kind of a Junji Ito panel. Also me and the girls. But except for that guy, we take that guy out. But anyway, and so like I didn't know if we ordered it, so I tried to order another one, and apparently Jack came over and was like, Who tried to order Spa? It's on its way. Like, we're gonna get it, damn it. And then like Corinne looked at the book and was like, oh, that's a Persephone book. I guess I just doxed myself, but that's okay. Look, my dick is on the internet. Like, whatever.
What? Your dick's on the internet?
My dick's on the internet kind of a lot.
Website so that I might avoid it.
Twitter.gov and onlyfans.edu.
Wow. I'm gonna make sure those aren't in my tabs.
I need to make sure that my OnlyFans doesn't get deleted, actually, because I haven't been using it for like a year or 2 years. So I think I got an email from OnlyFans that was like, you need to maybe
post more dick.
You need to post more hog on OnlyFans, or else we're just gonna delete your account. And I'm like, yeah.
Well, you're making so much money at the comic book store, though, you know?
Yeah.
You really need that passive income.
We're
making so much money.
Yeah, we're basically comic book barons at this point.
Yeah.
Like, we should be executed for our crimes.
Do you see in the background I have the Akira box set? That's worth like $100.
Yeah, you know how many hours we had to slave away in the comic book mines to afford that? None. Because we're comic book barons. Life is easy for us. We're basically like the Elon Musk of the comic book industry. We never have to work a day in our lives, and our brains can be as smooth as we want. We should be. You know
and
how
we're obsessed with trans women.
And we're obsessed with trans women. You know how I've been saying all this time that the rich should be redacted with rocks, with fire, fed into the machines.
I remember this.
I'm talking about us.
Aw, that's sweet.
Aw, ooh.
Okay, so we've been streaming forever.
Do we want to talk about? I mean, some of this is also pissing about too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna be able to edit this down a bit. But what else is left? We got All-Star Superman and Doom Patrol.
Yeah, we can talk about.
And then we're maybe gonna do Nice House, but I think we're gonna cut that.
Definitely Nice House for later. And also, like, if you want to talk about All-Star, like, I'm willing to do Doom Patrol next week.
I mean, I'm not actually done with All Star.
Okay.
So I mean, I've read. I could talk about it for like maybe a few minutes
If you want to.
I haven't like taken notes on it. I totally just opened it this morning and started reading it. I got like 5 issues in. I've never read Superman before.
Okay, so maybe we could do like an initial impressions thing, just like not a deeper dive, but just being like, hey, here's some of my thoughts. You know, mommy's first Superman book.
Mommy's first Superman book. This is what I read. It's called All Star Superman. Oops, sorry, microphone. I just hit you with All Star Superman. Yeah. So this was written by Grant Morrison. This is one of the iconic runs of Superman. I don't think I'd really find myself reading Superman if it wasn't like comic, graphic novel important. And almost everything Grant Morrison touches is like it's like required reading when it comes to like, I don't know, superhero stuff. So Possum's been telling me to read it for a long time. The art is by Frank Quietly with Jamie Grant, who is also a very iconic artist within the comic industry.
Yeah, Frank Whiteley's worked with Morrison on so many fucking books, and it has worked on a bunch of other stuff too, like huge iconic Vertigo
I love
artist.
this opening page.
Yeah, this is an all-timer like opening page. Like it just sets up like for new readers the origin of Superman. 4 panels, like 10 words max.
I'm just like, oh yeah, the origin of Superman. Right, great. Page 1. Next.
Hyper condensed.
It flows really well. Doomed planet, desperate scientists, last hope, kindly coupled.
And then just that banger double page spread of Superman flying right next to the sun.
Yeah, so it looks like Superman was on a mission in space that caused him to need to fly right up on the sun's surface, right?
Yeah. Because there was this mission he needed to save some astronauts who were being transformed inside of their.
And one of the astronauts is a plant from Lex Luthor, who is designed to explode. So it forces Superman to go out to the space station. He's like skimming the sun, getting hit by probably nuclear radiation and stuff. And he gets cancer.
Yeah, he basically gets, because how Superman's thing it works is that he gets some of his powers are from the sun. Like he is powered by the sun. But
yeah,
like
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, he gets powered by the sun. Like he is fueled by sunlight. Like he's basically a plant, more or less.
I did not know this about Superman.
Yeah, and so Lex Luthor basically figures out if I can overload his system, I can basically give him cancer.
Yeah, he uses his X-ray vision to look at his own cells in like his hand, and he can see cancer like in his skin. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, like basically, yeah. Just as a brief thing for the viewers at home, the basic premise of this book is Superman basically gets like super cancer because of Lex Luthor, and so has to try to like wrap up his life before he goes out.
Like we instantly go into him hanging out with Lois Lane and having this like long birthday with her, where he comes out to her as being Superman. I guess she didn't know that in this book.
Brief note about that. This is out of continuity.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, because there were 2 All-Star books that came out at the time. There was All-Star Batman and Robin, which is infamous for the like, are you dense? Are you Arsler or something? Who do you think I am? I'm the goddamn Batman. That was Frank Miller's All-Star Batman, was coming out at the same time. Fucking Frank Miller. Was coming out at the same time as All-Star Superman was coming out, which are just incredibly different books.
Yeah. So this is a contained story.
It's a contained story, yeah. It's
out of continuity, and it's just letting Grant Morrison do what he wants to do with Superman.
And that it's also based off like the 12 Labors of Hercules, actually.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That makes sense, though.
Yeah, it's like it's vague, and I didn't catch it the first time I read it when I was like 13. But
who is this Rainbow Man?
Oh, Leo Quintum or Quantum. Yeah, he's think an original character. Yeah.
I like his little rainbow outfit.
Oh yeah,
he's the one who discovers that Superman has cancer, and it just becomes Superman kind of dealing with that, and I guess wrapping up his life.
Yeah,
and facing the consequences of death. uh, he there's this really beautiful scene where he brings Lois Lane to uh what's his like cave called?
The Fortress of Solitude.
The Fortress of Solitude, and he invents this serum that lets her have the same power set as Superman for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And they go on this beautiful date where they just fly around and they like fight crime, and they get stuck in all these like capers, and they have to fight these other like dudes, and like
yeah, it was like Atlas and Hercules, I think. They do an arm wrestling match with Hercules and Atlas.
Yeah, and like they're like, oh, this superhero girl, like who is she? Like we want to fight for her, and like we'll fight you, Superman, and like she'll take us on a date instead. It's my favorite part is at the end of the date, she starts losing her superpower after 24 hours, and it becomes really clear that he gave her this gift of like seeing what he sees.
Yeah.
He
wanted her to understand what it's like to be Superman, to see the world like he sees it.
There's this thing that she says to him. I kind of want to find it. Yeah, she says, my birthday gift is starting to wear off big time. I can't smell the trees in Canada. I can't see all that gorgeous radio anymore. The stars have stopped singing like they used to. Which is like, damn, like he can really see like all the stars just singing at him. He can smell things from the other side. Like he was invented in the golden era of comics or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And like back then, superhero powers were so weird. Like he could like see through the Earth's planet and look at a typewriter that's typing on the in China, like and like that he had typewriter powers or something. It's just like they were just doing such batshit things back then with like Superman, and he really is the strongest, most powerful thing that could possibly exist in this universe, and Morrison just plays with that.
And plays with that like, and he's on our side fundamentally. Like to Morrison, Superman is the ultimate humanist. Like that Superman is mythologically and on a very human level the very best of us. Like that, and that's what makes Morrison Superman so appealing, because I'm not a huge Superman person, but I fucking love Grant Morrison Superman, because yeah, Superman is a very mythological figure here and is very much like the absolute best of humanity. Like he has these powers, but he uses them to care for people, no problem too small. There's a bit much later in the book where it's just like him just going, he's like writing his will, right? And he's also like just doing little things like, and it keeps cutting between like him rescuing kids and like helping a kid not get hit by a car, while he's also like trying to get the Candor people back, while also like trying to comfort somebody, while also saving somebody, or like holding somebody like close so that they know somebody cares about them, so that they don't kill themselves. Like, and it jumps around between all of these things as he's writing his will, and it's just about like how this is what he loves most, is helping people and seeing the best in people.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
I'm so glad.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm waiting. I can tell there's going to be a brutal heartbreak, and
Maybe.
I'm ready.
Maybe not though.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe though.
Yeah, it's a really fun first Superman to dive into.
You're gonna love the ending of it. Like it. Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm gonna keep reading it.
Oh, I think
excited. I'm like, if it's a 12-issue series, I feel like I got through 5 issues.
Yeah, you got through 5 issues. You're almost on. Yeah, you're almost halfway through.
So yeah, I might have talked about that longer than I meant to, but yeah.
No, that's cute. I'm so glad you like it. Yeah, and just a brief side note on something you said earlier. Yeah, Morrison's thing. One of Morrison's big things is Morrison really loves the Silver Age, when shit was really, really weird. Like the whole like thing that I mentioned in the story before, like Batman's backup personality, the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. That's just a one-off issue from the Silver Age. Like,
really?
Yeah, no, because okay, so Morrison's whole thing about Batman is that literally everything that has ever been published about Batman happened. Like, Batman has experienced every single fucking thing, including contradictory ones, and that these were all just different multiversal adventures or whatever. And the Batman of Zur-Anar was like a one, because they used to do this all the time in the Silver Age. They were like, what if Superman was a gorilla? The next issue would be like, what if Wonder Woman punched a zebra in the dick? And then like, it'd be like, what if Batman...
Not happen.
It'd be like, what if Batman committed international tax fraud and was also a mermaid? Like,
those are believable to me.
And so yeah, they just do different things every issue, and Zur-Anar was one of those. Like, Zur-Anar was like some alternate Batman from like a single issue in the 70s, or not even the 70s, but maybe in the 60s. And Grant Morrison, being exactly like they are, saw that and was like, I'm gonna bring that bitch back, like, and just made it into the whole like backup personality thing. Batmite shows up at one.
Mite?
Yeah, it's the little floating Batman's biggest fan from another universe, who was a big Silver Age character, is like, yeah, Batman's biggest fan from another universe, and he's just this like little floating goblin thing, kind of similar to Mr. Mxyzptlk from fucking Superman. And his whole shtick is that he's Batman's biggest fan, and he wears this oversized Batman costume. And he usually, like, in the Silver Age would like annoy Batman and try to get like in on the team and like fuck up Superman's thing or Batman's thing. And like, but in Batman Rip, part of Grant Morrison's Batman run, when Batman goes into the Zur-Anar personality, because he set up this backup personality so that like if his enemies ever beat him, he could have this like much more psychotic version of himself like buried inside of him, who could not be beaten by traditional like means of psychic terrorism. And fucking Batmite just shows up and is just like helping him out. Like,
what the fuck?
Morrison's Batman run is batshit insane. It's so good. But anyway, the point of all this being, we're getting a little off topic, is that Morrison loves that Silver Age shit. Yeah. Morrison is such a Silver Age fan. You see it in Claws, like especially like later issues of Claws.
He probably grew up in that era, right?
Yeah, they grew up in that era. Like same.
Grant Morrison.
Oh, you just misgendered Grant Morrison.
Here we go.
But then you see this with like Flex Mentallo, because Flex Mentallo is a Morrison creation.
Oh,
Man of Muscle Mystery, yeah.
That was invented by Grant?
Yeah, because that's from Grant's Doom Patrol run. Flex Mentallo came from Doom Patrol first.
I knew that. I didn't realize Grant Morrison invented Flex, though.
Yeah, Grant Morrison invented Flex and then ended up doing like, I'll have to tell you about it off stream a little bit. Did this whole there's a Flex Mentallo miniseries. Actually, no, I'll just tell you about it on stream. There's a Flex Mentallo miniseries that you couldn't find for like 25 fucking years. They reprinted it when like I was a teenager. Finally, for the first time, they like recolored it, and like it had been out of print for a really long time. And it's part of their hyper sigil with the Invisibles and Jesus Christ, the Filth. But the thing about the Flex Mentallo series is it's only 4 issues. It's not like a big, like, you got the 4-issue Flex Mentallo, you got the maxi series of the Filth, and then you have the long running series of the Invisibles. Thing about Flex Mentallo, the Flex Mentallo series is about a stand-in for Grant Morrison killing themselves, or basically like taking a bunch of pills and like dying in an alleyway. And then at the same time as this is happening, there's like this whole adventure with like Flex trying to track down his old friend, the Question, but it's not the Question. It's like a version of the character, the Question. And like these two arcs eventually like kind of converge, and Flex Mentallo like beats the main villain of the thing, and it's like the villain is unmasked to be revealed to be like Grant Morrison's childhood fears of the atomic bomb and like petulance as a result of like fear and anger, like youthful fear and anger. And like Flex Mentallo basically talks to like the angry, hurt, like petulant sides of Morrison, and is like, being a man isn't about being like big and strong or whatever. It's about like holding on to love and light and hope in the face of a bleak world. And like, I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to help you out, homie. And then like Morrison's like self, who is dying in the alley from taking pills, like has this whole revelation, like has this whole like where his like childhood self starts talking to like the superheroes in his own brain. And eventually he like changes reality by making the pills that he swallowed to kill himself M&Ms. Like it's
Morrison is so nuts.
Morrison has done a lot of drugs and done a lot of chaos magic. I've definitely told you about the masturbation socials.
I feel like you've told the podcast before about this.
Oh yeah.
You know, All-Star Superman doesn't feel that weird.
All-Star Superman is one of the most grounded and accessible things they've ever written.
It feels very special. Yeah. It feels like it's coming from a place of a lot of respect for Superman.
Yeah. Morrison
as like a
Superman.
cultural icon.
Morrison loves Superman very deeply.
This feels like someone who loves Superman wrote this.
Yeah. Like Morrison loves a lot of superheroes. I don't think Morrison loves another superhero more than Superman. Like and it is fundamentally because Morrison sees Superman as like both as a man and as a mythic figure as like the very best of us. Like, and I think that even is explicitly said later actually. Like it is by far Morrison's most accessible.
Frank Quietly's work on it too is just a delight to spend time with.
Yeah, Quietly's art is just incredible. Like, and every time they collaborate, Morrison and Quietly collaborate a ton. And every time they collaborate, they do something new and different. Like, All-Star Superman does what it does. Like, there's some innovations in action paneling and movement that get done in We3. Like, there's some... Don't even get me started on Pax Americana, which is... I will show you pictures of Pax Americana later. It's stunning. Yeah, they work together a lot, and they're an excellent team. They're like the Brubaker and Phillips of the scene.
Okay. All right, what do you want to do, Possum?
You know, I feel like we've been talking for a while, and even if like 20-30 minutes of this is
we're 2 hours in right now.
We're 2 hours in right now, and even if like 20-30 minutes like is bullshitting or whatever, like we still have been talking for a long time. So you know what, I'll write a little bit more extensively on Doom Patrol Nada, or I'll get my thoughts a little more focused. We'll hit Nice House on the Lake soon, probably. Because I did want to segue. I was initially going to segue talking about how the relationship, healing is a collaborative act, not a relationship of control, and use that to segue into Nice House on the Lake Part 2, which is all about control. We'll get back to that. As well as control ends up factoring into the second volume of Gerard Way's Doom Patrol as well. But you know what? We're gonna put a pin in that bitch.
Yeah, it's been a long one.
It's been a long one.
Okay, so what did we talk about today?
We talked about All-Star Superman, obviously.
We and we got a little bit into just Grant Morrison in general, who I'm very excited to read more of. And then I also spoke about Poison Ivy.
Excellent series.
And the ways that she, is a dyke and wants to kill green capitalists.
And one of the imprims I respect.
I never talked about Nightcrawlers.
Oh, well. Shit. We never talked about Nightcrawlers.
Do you want to talk about next time? Okay. No, we're done.
Okay, we're done.
I didn't really get into X-23 Deadly Regenesis because I didn't really care to. It's not... It's not... It's part of a storyline from the past that isn't relevant to right now, it feels like.
I read the first one. I was going to ask you about that briefly. It's like an X-Men Legends situation.
It's after Utopia. It takes place after Utopia, which I don't know. I never read that era.
I have no fucking idea when that is.
Utopia was like another place that they tried to create just for themselves that got bombed before Genosha.
Yeah. God damn it. So
I don't know.
Pre-Genosha.
It's pre-Genosha. I don't know.
Oh, so this is some goofy shit. Okay.
It was kind of fun to read it with the facsimile. But ultimately, I just really like the Laura Kenny that's happening right now. The one that I've fallen in love with through the Krakoan era. I think she's really, really cool. I'm really interested in her origin, and I kind of want to read more on that. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to keep reading X-23 Deadly Regenesis. I also talked about New Mutants and the trans woman who is creating trans woman characters. There's a trans guy in here. Interesting voices on Krakoa happening. I really suggest it if you're deep in the Krakoan era, such as me. I talked a little bit about X-Men proper, and I think that's all I talked about.
Yeah, and I didn't talk about a ton other than Clear #1 by Scott Snyder and Francis Manipool. Gorgeous art, dry protagonist, but like a lot of cool, interesting, like political and like sci-fi shit. I'm into it. I will be reading the next one. Also, I think the next one's the last one. And also talked about Spa by Eric Svetoft. Fantastic. I think this is gonna be on my top 10 at the end of the year.
Oh, we need another one.
We do need another one. It's so
for
good.
me,
For you.
We're gonna have matching libraries.
That's really dykey. Wow, we're gonna have we're matching hair, matching jobs, matching libraries. That's
Oh wow, we're low on disk space. We need to end this.
Oh yeah, let's take her out back and put her down.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming. All none of you, yet again. But we love you, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, and if yeah, see you next week.
And like we always say,
shit, what do we always say?
I thought you have something.
I was not ready. See, this
like
is why
we always say, save your last dollar for the hooker who loves you the most.
Absolutely. Give money to sex workers and feed capitalists into the gears of their own infernal machine. Burn down their enterprises.
And the end. Bye.
Bye. Death to the ruling class.